Sup, everybody? It's us.
Hi.
It's the Paper Dungeon on a Monday, but kind of also table scrap stuff like we do on Thursdays. The main reason for that is that our wonderful DM, DJ, just
Hi.
moved. And
Hi. Thanks.
unbeknownst to us, he doesn't have a way to get his computer connected to the internet yet.
I'm working on it.
But theoretically, it should happen real soon.
Yes.
Got
And,
a
and,
Wi-Fi
and
card
to his credit, he's also like really
like that.
busy and didn't have necessarily time to put a lot of
I
thought
mean,
into.
yeah.
And he drank a Red Bull in his spazzies, as far as what he said. He's feeling a little.
You can't tell because of
You got it. You have to exaggerate for the camera. Oh, that's a lot. You must have had a lot of Red Bull, man. You're shaking like crazy.
But yeah, so we're just gonna do a bit of a shorter stream tonight to talk about the campaign and stuff. See what everyone's sitting. Pump DJ for information that will assist us in the oncoming days.
Absolutely.
We have our regular plugs that we do at the start if we want to do those. Do we want to do those at the start? I'm in.
Yeah, let's do those.
Yeah, but
just but you
let's
have
do
to
message style.
We have to include everything we can to pad out the timer. Okay.
Yeah. Oh shoot. That's
right.
fair.
I think it'd be fun to do a message style, which is 25 words.
Okay, Grant. Since you go ahead. And
is it 25 words for each plug or 25 words for all?
25 words for each person.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's fine.
I can start.
Yeah,
Go for it,
ahead
Grant.
and start, Grant.
Ears, eyes, mouth. Thank you, podcasters and YouTube viewers. Please give us free money with Twitch Prime while we are live on Twitch on Mondays.
Well
Boom.
done. Well
Thank
done.
you.
That wasn't
That's
bad.
how it's done.
Drew, are you interested or should I?
Oh, sure, I can.
Which one is Drew doing? Social media?
Yes.
All right, guys, we're on more than Twitch.
Wow.
Check us out on TikTok, Instagram, not Facebook, Twitter.
I think that's all of them.
I lost track.
You have 5 words left.
I have 5 words left. Okay.
We have a website.
That's mine. Don't take that.
Oh, sorry.
You don't have
Choose
to
your
use
words
all
wisely,
25.
Drew. No, you don't.
Support us on Patreon
on
as
Patreon.
well. That's
That's
the way
as-
It's close enough.
As
as
with
well
the
as one
support
with
us
the
on
hyphen in
Patreon,
there, right?
as
He named
Also-
2. Support us on Patreon 2.
There you go.
All right.
Also,
Question:
support us on Patreon. Also, there we go.
Do URLs count as one whole word? This is a question that
I'd
surprisingly
say
has
so.
never
Yeah,
come up.
Absolutely.
All right.
For the case of
an embedded link would suffice.
As the DM, I would allow it.
So, for example, www.thepaperdungeon.com
Yeah, one word.
has store buy things.
Nice.
So that's right. Discord, pretty cool. Be there. Support us on Patreon. Streamlabs donation. Streamlabs is one word. I'm calling it.
Yeah. Ko-Fi.
Ko-Fi. That's it. Please bring your friends. Am I at 11 or 21?
21.
21.
21? Oh God, am I missing something? Please go buy merch.
Nice.
Nice, guys. We're kind of killing this right now. Hopefully,
Nailing
DJ
it.
doesn't drop the
Nailing
ball.
it out there. I don't think DJ
Hey
has
man,
any
I don't
plugs.
have a whole lot that I need to say. Thanks for being here. I don't think we're gonna roll the intro clip. I don't have 25 words. Mine's not enough.
You're at like 8. Now you've used all
You're
of them.
way over, man. I don't know what else to tell you.
I did want to update people. For those of you who are curious, I recently moved to Seattle.
And I hate him for it.
Sorry, Drew. So Drew and I aren't living together anymore. I do have like an actual in-person roommate. That's his bed. So if you happen to see someone walking the background,
Wait. Hold on. Their name
that-
is his bed.
No, that is
Thank
his
you.
bed. You dummy. Sorry, that was rude.
Yeah, that's your roommate.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
I'm sorry. Continue.
I'm moving on.
I
from
couldn't
you.
help myself.
But yeah, I just got some new jobs out here. I'll be here for at least until October, maybe till the end of the year. So it just kind of depends on some things. But if you happen to see someone in the background, just ignore them. They're a nice guy, and they're just living. They're literally just trying to live their life in their own home as well.
As long as they don't enjoy walking around shirtless, I will have no complaints.
Well, it was funny.
Yeah.
We did make the joke about how he was like, so I probably just can't be like hanging out on the bed. And I was like, no, probably not. Not unless you're gonna like actually put on a show or something. And he started like stripping, and I was like,
We're like, definitely not that.
maybe not that.
I was talking about backflips.
If he walks around without a shirt, just make sure that he's wearing tape or something.
That's right.
Yes,
he's got
to cover
little
up
pasties.
because or
Here at
little
the Paper
X's or
Dungeon,
something.
we abide by the no shirt, no shoes, no service rule.
That's right. That's right.
We follow
Absolutely.
terms of service.
Aaron, I never understood that because no shirt, no shoes, no service. What about pants?
Never says anything about pants. That's
is it implied?
Well,
I'm pretty sure that no pants is actually illegal by the law.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, and the idea is that like people will actually just walk around shirtless or shoeless, like just normally. But typically, like not having pants is pretty rare.
He's pretty rare.
Okay, I have something to say about this. Do socks count as shoes? Because
No.
I'm not kidding. I am literally wearing a shirt and socks, but I'm literally not wearing pants. So depending on the actual rules, right? I might be able to get service if I walked into a store as I am right now without pants
This
on.
is, I'm sorry, but we have to kick you off the stream now.
And you have to understand, I'm not even making this up. This isn't a bit. I told Aaron earlier that I literally wasn't wearing pants today just so I could say that.
It's almost like I brought up this bit specifically so I could give you an in to mention it.
Did you really? If that's the case, I owe you something. I don't know what.
Nice.
Pants, maybe.
Those dogs are barking. That's
I will
right.
choose to not respond to your question and let you
My
think for
dogs-
yourself whether or not I just gave you that into your joke.
My dogs are curled up and cozy. They're sleeping in my little sockies today.
I hate this. We're gonna move on.
We should move on. We're going to talk about the campaign now to some extent. Some of it you may have already heard. If you tuned in this past Thursday, Drew and I talked a bit about the campaign. We got a bunch of stuff going on. Got a bunch of stuff. First off, I can finally talk about it. It's the Rod of 7 parts. I ruined DJ's life like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, so far there have been 2 people who have known for quite a long time that it was the Rod of 7 parts. Aaron figured it out about a year ago, and there was some guy who commented on TikTok like when we first mentioned the rod, and he was like, I wonder if this is the Rod of 7 parts. That'd be really cool because that's from first edition. And then I just never responded to it. I never acknowledged it, and I was just secretly like, good job, buddy, you did it.
You just deleted the single. You're like, no one will know.
And we're talking like Ruat, like early, right?
yeah.
No,
like
Aaron found
yeah.
out
20
like
episodes.
episode 5. He's like, hey, DJ,
No,
I bet
not
this is
episode 5. It's from the initial stream. You guys got Ruat in Melora's session 0. You literally had it from the very beginning of the campaign, which I did very specifically on purpose.
Right.
And it took me a bit, and then it was like the episode that you mentioned that there was more than one rod, and I was like, "Rod is a very peculiar word to use here."
You could have
I
used
know of
baton.
a rod that has multiple parts that is separated. I wonder. And then I like searched up. I'm like, Rod of 7 parts, and I look, and it's like each rod has a name, and like the third one is Ruat, and I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, you could have gotten
Hold on.
creative, like the sausage links, right? It could have been anything with multiple parts. The Lego set.
Here's the thing: is you have to leave a little bit of a breadcrumb trail so that people can follow. The idea, what you have to do. This is for when you plan your campaign, Grant. What you have to do.
Okay. Campaign
is you
3.
have to have enough that if someone is genuinely looking and searching, they could figure it out. But to the average person, there's nothing
Like me.
that's actually connecting all these things. That's the thing. That's the goal. You want it to seem like they're random. I actually read something the other day that was talking about like writing like mystery novels. And what they did was they said you should write out just the natural succession of how you should find all your clues, like how that would lead out to everything. Or actually, they said that you should work backwards. Like, here's the end of the thing, work backwards until you have it so that they can get to from the beginning to the end, and then scatter that and just make it so they find random clues at random times and nothing connects until you get to the very end, and then everything just blows your mind.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been trying to do. And I've succeeded on some parts, succeeded less so on other parts. I give up on ever bamboozling Aaron in my life. I mean, I figured
Hey,
edition,
I get bamboozled. Sometimes I get bamboozled.
Name
That's
one
true.
time.
Name one time. I get name one time. Exactly. There are very few times where I say something and Aaron goes, I did not see that coming at all.
Well, see, here's the thing. First step to never getting bambboozled: never trust anything that anyone says or does.
That's true. Aaron
Be
is not
a very untrusting person who is decrepit and broken, and that is how you never get tricked.
That's right.
I used to think everything was a trap, which is why I'm still alive.
To all, not that I think that there's a lot of people in our audience that are going to be a part of this demographic, but for people that have been playing since first edition or know things about first edition, I apologize. The only thing about the Rod of Seven Parts that's actually accurate is the name. The rest of it I completely made up.
So here's the beautiful thing, though. From what I know of the Rod of Seven Parts, it is a hardcore MacGuffin. Where
what is a MacGuffin?
A MacGuffin is a thing that you put in the story that the players have to protect or gain or defend against or stop someone from getting.
Baby Yoda.
May or may not. Yes, absolutely. Baby Yoda is a MacGuffin where it's
got you, chat.
What exactly, what purpose, why? We don't know. We just know that we want other people to not have it, or we know that we need to protect it. It may or may not even do anything. So the Rod of Seven Parts is a really strong thing, but I don't know if it's ever actually been said what it does.
Yeah, I was able to find a few documents that kind of explain its powers and stuff like that, but it's from first edition. So trying to apply that to fifth edition, it doesn't transfer very well. And so it was kind of like there were some aspects of it where I was like, I could do this, I could do that. And the reality is it hasn't become a big enough issue that I've really had to really flesh it out. So now that we're actually, kind of hunting them and trying to figure them out and all this type of stuff, that now I actually kind of really, figure out what they actually do and what each one, like how they connect and what happens when they do connect and stuff like that. Yeah. But the overarching thing, the reason why they're legendary items is because when they're all together, like they literally are like a doomsday switch. They're like they're the nuke button, you know? Like it's literally the thing that controls the end of the world. But when they're separated, they're not super amazing and all that type of stuff. But it's kind of fun because I enjoy the fact that they're not super powerful, but they take up an attunement slot because I like being mean like that.
The Anchored Anki knows. The Infinity Stones.
That's kind of, yeah.
Yeah,
a little bit.
I'm the opposite. I would just rather give my players really busted stuff that doesn't take up attunement slots because I think that is funny. There is nothing I would love more than to give like a level 1 player just something so busted.
Rod of the Magi or something.
But that's not even easy. That's not busted enough. That's just good. You want to give them an item that is so good that people will hunt them for it.
I mean, the Staff of the Magi, people will hunt them for it.
I mean, yeah, but you could just make it if you're that strong.
The Eye of Countless Wishes.
I'm talking like give your characters Hand of Vecna level 1.
You lost me.
Like give them a full artifact.
Grant, Vecna is one of the biggest bads of the normal Dungeons & Dragons lore.
Yeah.
How do I not know this?
And the Hand of Vecna is literally
you just play the game. You don't actually know the game.
The Hand of Vecna is actually like a legendary artifact that you as a player can find in theory and use. you can
Well, I
literally
know what-
sever off your own hand and attach the hand of Vecna.
Yeah,
Well,
so,
I know
like,
what Fate's Gambit is going to be doing for the rest of the campaign.
yeah,
Hey,
so
Dion,
Vecna
does Vecna
supposedly
exist
is
in
like
this
the
world?
first lich, and he's one of the gods of death and all that type
Yeah.
of stuff.
It's it's like a
awkward.
lich. In the lich's own words, at one point in time, they were like, "Vecna, why don't you just become a god?" And he's like, "Why would I downgrade myself to that position?"
Yeah.
That's Vecna.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Really busted lich, does busted things, is responsible for most of the really messed up stuff and
Oh
super
no,
scary
Abinthy
places.
could become.
I'm so
Vecna.
in to become Vecna.
Did I already say it wrong?
Yes, it was literally the first time you tried.
I swear I don't do that on purpose.
But yeah, I love giving my players something at level 1 that it's like, maybe we should not take this with us.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if we don't, 1, that's a missed opportunity. And 2, that just leaves it for someone else to find.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I did really enjoy finally getting to the part where all of my plans for the last 3 years and literally the whole point of the campaign that everything's been leading up to for the last 3 years, I got to just like lay on the table.
Yes.
It was really nice. I really
It was
enjoyed
nice for
that.
us too.
And you guys were great. You guys were very receptive to it and understanding of how terrible things are, which I was like, great. It's not just a, oh, this is a thing that we should deal with. It's like, oh crap, this is bad, which made me really happy.
Real
So
bad.
Also, thank you for letting me attempt to spoil your plans, even when I knew that I couldn't spoil your plans.
Hey, like it's all about, you can always try, and to be fair, you had me on the ropes for a second because I had completely forgotten about the anti-magic field.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh crap, like he rolled like almost a 40. Like, how can I possibly justify not doing this? And then I was like, oh yeah, he's in an anti-magic field. Technically,
I
he
didn't
did
forget
this.
about the field, but I was kind of hoping that praying wasn't magic. that was my goal.
I mean, I think
Yeah, okay.
like it's
I
like,
can see what you're saying. Yeah.
or maybe you're like appealing to the gods that
I'm
do
just hoping
magic.
that
So I guess it's like, yeah,
sound is like its own little special magic that every time you pray,
which is
god
why
is like,
bards should
hey.
not be hindered by anti-magic fields.
that's why your abilities
What an
are.
argument.
Just kidding.
But like just like calling, like every time that someone prays to a god, it shows up on their, like, you have a calling coming, and they have a choice to answer it. That's what my role. I assumed my roles were for, where it had to be like who's the god? Who's the god that I was calling for? What's his name?
You
Ozilok.
called
Ozilok.
yeah.
Like Ozilok like pulls up his BlackBerry, and it's like call incoming from Abinthy Tripwitz, and he's like, Jesus, why? And he like cancels it, and then I call back, and he's like, that's kind of weird. Is this a prank? And so he declines it again, and then I call a third time, and that's where the charisma check comes in. The first rolls are just knowing his number, him already having my name in his contacts, and then the charisma check is for him actually picking up the phone.
Yeah.
That's what I assumed I was rolling for.
Nice.
Also, welcome in Lydia. Lydia's in chat.
Yes, hi Lydia.
Hello. I also saw a couple of people. Hello, Handskate. Hello, Wander and Anchored Andrew
Jesse.
and Corbin and everything. Hello, everyone who is watching. Yeah, so I'm like, this is DJ's big reveal, but also Abinthy won't just like not try anything.
Yeah.
And then I just started rolling like a maniac.
Well, I mean, you're also like kind of set up to do that. Like that's the point of this character. You roll an Arcana check and it works. That's kind of the point.
Almost like Aaron has like a plus 15 to Arcana.
Yeah, it's something around there.
I think it's like a plus 17 that you have in Arcana.
I think it might be 15. I think it might be 15. I have my stats here.
Nonetheless,
It's ridiculous.
I was really happy with how
15
last session went. I also really enjoyed Renaya and Grotz got to step away. I think that went really, really well. I think it made
nice touch.
It was nice to not like kill off a character. It was
For
nice
once,
to be able to like kind of give someone a happy ending for once.
I also like how it's kind of open-ended. It's like if Baphomet is dealt with, if the world doesn't end, then like who knows what would happen. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So this is that reminds me. During it, I was frantically messaging DJ to be like, "Hey, I have some things that I would love if you could throw in if you could." Mm-hmm. That was the one my final trap card from Tarak that I hadn't revealed, where when Tarak died, I messaged DJ and was like, "Hey, DJ, I have a thought. Is this a thing that could happen?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm in." Miss Maggie.
Mhm.
The little
I-
doll.
Yes, I was like,
I remember
"Hey,
that one.
hey
Good
DJ,
job.
upon Tarak's death, could he imbue his like will into Miss Maggie to protect Renaya?"
Mhm.
And he was like, "Yeah, I'm absolutely in." So Miss Maggie would have functioned as a like something that would prevent death, whether it be like, oh, Renaya actually dies, or like Renaya is reduced to 0 hit points at a crucial moment that would have like kept her at 1 health, which never came to fruition, but it was there.
It still is.
Still is there.
Yeah.
So that was my final. What are you doing after stream?
Hanging out with you, maybe playing some Apex.
You want to go grocery shopping?
Yes.
Okay. We should, in theory, be live once again.
Hello, everybody.
Hello?
Hello, everybody. You might be able to
Hello?
hear my voice. Potentially. Yes, they can. Look at us.
Hello? Hello?
You might be able to hear my voice.
Oh.
Potentially. Yeah, we're good. We're live.
Well,
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Welcome
It
back.
isn't
Thanks for
live
bearing with
for
us.
me.
Well, it's live for me, which
Well,
means
good for you. Classic. Gosh dang.
now I want to explore a question.
Punk.
I want to explore a thought that honestly maybe we've explored, but I don't recall exploring. Okay, if I may present a thought for us to think about. I'm partially stalling so people can refresh and get in here, everybody, while we start this new bit.
Feel free to stall.
I have something to say
Uh-huh.
that I want to talk about.
What?
That we've probably explored a little bit in the
No.
campaign, but we haven't actually really determined what exactly will happen, right? And here is that thing. I've given up enough
Grant's
chance.
motion to the floor.
I've given them enough time. If you guys haven't refreshed yet, what are you doing?
I've refreshed like 80 times and it's still not up for me. And I don't
All
know
right. Well,
why.
I'm gonna go anyways.
Why must you hurt me, Twitch?
What will happen if we lose? Right. That's a
bad
genuine
things.
question, because
Bad-
here's the theory,
Bad things will
or
happen.
this is what I have perceived has been slung around as like what would happen if like the barrier between the Fae and the material planes and whatever theoretically would be broken down, like the barriers between them, or they get closer or whatever, and so the Fae would have like somewhat sort of unlimited access to the material plane, and that involves the gods or whatsoever, you know, theoretically like the different dimensions would be like crashing into each other, something like that. I don't fully comprehend that. I know it sounds bad, but I'm not even 100% certain that's specifically what they're trying to do. You know, I don't even know if that's specifically what would happen. Is it just an inkling? Like, I genuinely, like from the information we know, what do we think is going to happen if they succeed?
So what happens is we end campaign 1 and campaign 2 is unaffected.
Okay, interesting, but like, why? Like,
Well, I can't tell you that because that would reveal information about campaign 2.
you know, but like, you know, does the Fae just begin running around on the material plane? Like,
I can explain this. So the plot that the enemy is going for is not to destroy the outer planes and crash everything together or anything like that, or even to create access for outer player deities and beings to access the material plane through the Feywild. That is
so the
never-
Ender Dragon will stay in the end,
In the
basically.
end.
Okay.
The reason why the Feywild was opened was because they were gathering allies to resurrect Clovar. So if
Right,
you
which
notice,
we've
there's
gotten
people
to.
what they've done. But if you notice, typically demons, like demon lords and stuff like that, and devils, they have to be summoned through a ritual and all those type of things. But they haven't had to be recently. Grots, and Baphomet and all of them have been able to just show up. That's because
And there's been weird stuff with teleportation circles.
and there's been weird stuff with teleportation, all this type of stuff. That's because they were gathering allies to resurrect Clovar, and now that's the case. The enemy doesn't necessarily want like the material plane destroyed or anything like that. What they want is they want ownership in it once again. They, especially the Fae, because the Fae were had dominion over the material plane before the trial during the events of Pandemonium.
I'm following.
And they got demoted after the trial because they allowed for the Age of Pandemonium to transpire, and that's when Monantari established the God system. And the God system.
So this makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So their goal is to continue what they started.
But there's been plenty of issues going on with it. And it's funny because Clovar's whole campaign has been like, those who were put in charge have not done a good job. First it was the Fae, and now it's with the gods. And he doesn't really care who's in charge as long as things actually are like progressing in what he imagines is the proper manner, and that people are being taken care of and all this type of stuff. Now, there's also some selfish ambition. There's definitely a little like evil to it, but he truly believes that he is the answer to all the problems in the world, and that if people could just adhere to the government that he would establish and the ruling system that he would establish, he genuinely would make people's lives better. He's a little psychotic in that way because he's definitely not a good guy by any means, but he truly believes in what he's trying to do.
Yeah, and right, and you don't screw it up, it works. It just works.
Oh man, but how often does that happen, right? Now that you lay it out, like I can see how all of that stuff has been brought to light via the campaign, but I did want to bring that up because it seems like from the very conception of what the heck is happening, it seemed like, oh no, the Fae has access to the material plane. So that's been kind of early on the the epicenter of all of it, but we're seeing now that it's actually not quite as it's strange.
It's been beautiful because this whole time you guys have thought that the main enemy of the campaign has been the Fae, when really the Fae have just been a tool for the BBG this entire time. It's been excellent. It's always been my scapegoat.
Now,
it's probably the Fae. They're crazy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just wild.
Quick question. So, all the way back at the beginning of the campaign, when Prazius made mention that he was just coming before his own master, I assume that was in reference to Clovar.
Absolutely.
Yep. And so even as far back then, they were working on some sort of way to revive him.
Oh, yeah. So from the beginning of the campaign, they have been working towards reviving Clovar and working towards his plan. And part of it is that Clovar hasn't been dead. So during the events of the trial, he was almost killed, but Atrosil saved him and kind of put him in almost like this stasis pod. And that's what that encapsulation, that's what was encapsulating him. And so his consciousness has still been around, and people have still been able to talk to him, quote unquote, and kind of get advice from him and stuff like that. And so he's just been kind of gathering his strength and getting to the point where he could get a physical body again that would actually be able to imbue his power. And so that's what the ritual has been doing. And that's what Wisteria Vale and higher up members of the Anathema are actually. The Anathema is technically just the witches and wizards that run the whole thing. And then everybody else is technically a different thing. But the Anathema has been working towards that for the last several years. And the rest of the underlings, such as Prazius, who is technically what's called an ambassador, they've been working on some of the other things for the rest of the plot, like working with the Fae, getting the Autumn Daughters involved to kind of work as background agents, and getting started working towards gathering parts of the rod and all of that type of stuff. So all of this has been in works for, the last decade of in-game time. But it's just been slow burning over the course of the last 3 or 4 years, and you guys happen to be kind of caught in the middle of it, much as adventurers normally are.
Yeah, so hear me out. What if Clovar's right?
I've been saying it the whole time.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I'm just saying. Right
Fate's
now,
Gambit changes sides.
Abenthy is an enemy of Clovar out of spite.
What if we win by changing sides? Yeah, you know.
Well, yeah. If you can't beat him, join him.
Here's the thing.
Cather's like,
Well, but here's the thing. Here's why. Like, this is what I'm enjoying about this is it's such a good example of how like dictators rise to power because they preach good ideals. You know, like Hitler preached a lot about patriotism and restoring the pride of Germany and doing all this type of stuff, and then it slowly evolved into killing millions of Jews and all this type of stuff. But he was very charismatic. He was very convincing. And
he won Man of the Year.
Exactly. You know, at one point, he was Life Magazine's Man of the Year. And so oftentimes very evil people know.
If you just come out there and you're straight up evil off the bat, that's pretty, you gotta lead them into it.
And I see what you did with Athala though. How it was like somebody.
And oftentimes what they're preaching or what their ideals are that they're trying to imbue aren't bad. It's the fact that they take the method to the extreme to get that. And they justify the means by the end by the means by the end, excuse me. And that's where end. Yes, exactly.
It's just bad the whole time.
And that's where the issue comes out. And so, yes, does Clovar have good points about how the deity system has been working and treating itself? Absolutely. Does the abolition of that and his reign over the entire material plane and having a monarchy over everything is that the answer? I don't know. That's for you guys to decide.
What I'm hearing is, well, since you are comparing, you know, the whole ideals thing and then rise of power and then do things badly to, you know, Clovar, I'm getting the vibe that maybe he actually isn't the best route, if that's your comparison.
There's also the whole idea that you guys barely know the guy. You only know what he wants you to know because you guys have just talked to him. He's like, hey, these are my ideals. You guys should join sides with me. Makes total sense. You haven't seen him kill a puppy yet.
You gotta get a drink with, what's his name, with Thanos.
Walk a mile in his shoes. So my favorite thing,
I don't trust the guy.
Is
for all of you wondering,
in this campaign that Abenthy found that he has similar thoughts to are like Clovar and the literal Lord of Hell.
Listen, here's the thing. Abenthy,
they're like
Abenthy's
the end of
Abenthy needs to be in a villain's campaign.
Well, so right now, and the reason that is the case is purposeful, because Abenthy at the start core is not evil, but the things that he holds close tend to lean more evil than not. Like power in itself is not an evil thing, but it is really easy to do evil things if you have a lot of power.
Mm-hmm.
That is why when oh my goodness, Talanashta is alive, he becomes a better person because his priorities change. Like Talanashta becomes his new like focus of virtue rather than his desire for power or knowledge. Mm-hmm. So then his entire core of his being changes into being like valuing like camaraderie and doing good things and telling stories and helping people, rather than like, I need power to get back and protect the things that I've lost. Like, so there could be another very large character change for Abenthy, assuming we're able to resurrect Talanashta. But at the moment, he's like entirely focused on, I am too weak to get what I want.
Abenthy is going through his villain era, and he's about to start his redemption arc.
Except his villain era is kind of all the time, and it's just held back by a very thin wall.
Which is Edward.
Yes. Edward, if you can really ingratiate yourself into Abenthy's life.
But when I start hearing the weave It's all happening.
My dream for Edward from an outside point of view is to just at some point in time, like we're like losing a fight, and then like some dramatic reversal happens, and Edward is at the core, like the core of it, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, what's going on?" And then Philin is like, "How? It's impossible." And Abinthy is just like, "I think that you now realize that both you and everyone present here has underestimated the man named Edward N. Fellows." And then like,
Edward turns and does the rock eyebrow, and the vine boom sound effect happens, causing an AoE effect that is of extreme scale.
That's my dream for Edward.
Okay, all right, I'll keep that in mind.
I want Edward to be the reason why we succeed or fail. I would love that. All of the weight to be on your shoulders.
That seems like a lot of pressure. Let's just take a step back, right? What's up with the rods? Okay, I like that. Let's start there.
Hold on, I want something that doesn't relate to me.
You know, Cather's thing is like, hey, I'm gonna cut this guy in half, and then everything should be fine.
That's the beautiful thing. That's the beautiful thing. Everyone thinks that it's like Cather with his sword of justice and his tip of faith, or like Abinthy with his like massive spells and like magic garbage,
or Ginger with the unknown power.
In reality, it's just Edward with a pointy stick. That is what I hope.
A rapier?
It's a
or
pointy
an actual stick. Okay.
I mean, a rapier is just a pointy metal stick.
We'll see.
Wait,
what's gonna happen?
Are metal sticks?
Edward in the final battle is gonna actually lose his rapier, and he's just gonna pick up a broken spear off the ground.
The funny part is he literally can't lose his rapier.
That's true, actually.
It's literally impossible for him to
Ultima!
do. And then he can just summon it. He can just keep every single turn. He could make 2 attacks, throw his sword away from him, and then summon it back to his hand.
Maybe I'll start doing that.
just for the effect, just to throw off the enemy.
Absolutely, they'll never see it coming.
Well, see, what I'm hearing is Edward can throw his rapier like a javelin, and then just summon it back to him.
Oh, well, that's an attack, I guess. So the action,
that is definitely something that is a really cool build for like the Eldritch Knight.
Yeah.
To have like a throwing weapon that you're just like, yeah.
That would it's like a trident with loyalty on it.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Right. Good Minecraft reference.
Thank you. I think it's loyalty.
I had a theory that I brought up to Drew this past Thursday. So in conversation, Drew, this is a time that I totally did not connect the pieces, DJ. So gosh dang, open your eyes, open your ears. Drew revealed this to me. Totally didn't catch it, even though it was pretty obvious. I was like, it is upsetting to me that DJ made there be 6 truths and 7 pieces of the rod.
I know, I thought about that.
And then Drew was like, well, I kind of thought that the reason there were 6 truths was because there were 6 sacrifices, that the 7 pieces of the rod were just not important. And I was like, that's such an easy line I did not think at all that each sacrifice would be for each truth.
Aren't there 7 fears?
No,
there's
are
6.
No, there's 6 truths.
That's what you're. Oh
that's
my
what,
gosh!
That's what we're talking about. Fear is one of the 6 truths.
I thought I was a step ahead. I was a step behind.
Now, Aaron, to help you out here, the beautiful thing about it is that you are both correct.
Oh my god! Oh wait, don't say anything because this relates to my theory as to why there's 7 parts of the rod.
Okay,
hear me out.
Yeah.
Originally, there was just 1.
Let him cook.
Every single time the rod is used, the user of the rod becomes the next piece of the rod. That's why we haven't seen the mother goddess since the great calamity or whatever, is because she's the last piece of the rod, and then they're going to assemble it, be like, devastation, and then they're going to turn into a piece of the rod, and then it'll be the rod of 8 parts. It's like a one and done. You press the nuke, but you have to sacrifice something for it.
I'll let you think that. That does remind me of when like they were first like establishing how the president was going to determine if he could nuke someone, and they were like the button should be like on the thumb of a guy that you have to like shoot. Like you have to like physically kill a man to
you have
be
to
able to push
make the
button.
choice to kill someone, so that way you are held responsible for your actions.
get
Yeah,
it.
and the people in charge were like, the cabinet was like, no, then that'd skew his decision to use the nukes, and they were like, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to kill one person in front of you, you shouldn't be able to kill millions of people outside of it. Anyway, not to get political.
Nice tangent to distract from
From my completely real and honest idea.
I like what you said, though. I'll let you think
that's not a bad idea. But
it was a bad idea.
In reality, it was a complete accident. It was that I created the 6 truths, and then I needed something to control them, to kind of like to rein them in and stuff like that. For those of you who've ever read like Fablehaven, there's a lot of inspiration from that, because they talk about how there's a prison in Fablehaven. The whole, not to spoil the series, but it came out like 15 years ago, so deal with it.
Get over it.
But there's a prison for like demon princes and stuff like that. You open it with these 5 artifacts that have been lost to history, and I love that idea. And so I needed something. I was like, okay, I have the 6 truths. I wrote Lanantar's exposition, and I figured out like why there was the fall and how like what the vices were that led to kind of the fall of man, quote unquote. And then I was like, okay, I need something like, how does she control these things? Is it how can other people do it? And so that's when I started doing research on D&D artifacts from like 1st and 2nd edition. And I came across the rod of 7 parts, and I loved that. And it wasn't until like a year into it, and I'd already like given you guys all these hints, that I was like, oh crap, there's 6 things. 7 parts of the rod. That's so upsetting. And I'm just gonna keep going.
It's good.
I partially expect that DJ has a specific resolve to that problem that he's intentionally leaving out. I partially think that is the case.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, so
I feel like he's played dumb before.
When you unlock all 6 truths, you can combine them into the mecha truth. And that's what the 7th piece of the rod is for.
At the very least, DJ, I'm leaving it open for plausible deniability, so that you can come up with something and then just say you had it planned all along.
So when we're piloting the 6 truths,
Grant,
I'm playing chess here.
Grant, you literally just described the overarching structure of just DMing in general. You just got to leave everything open enough.
Maybe I could DM.
Nothing wasn't planned. I definitely had this plan from the beginning.
Look, if there's no planning involved, I can definitely DM.
I'm going to tell you right now, DJ, if you're DMing and you're like, oh man, I'm just really out of luck for ideas, just watch through the Table Scraps episodes, because I am laying out heaters for like 2 straight hours.
I have thought about that before. I was like, I really should like catch up on Table Scraps each week, because first of all, it's good to know what you guys are thinking, so I can either steal that if it's a better idea, or just completely ignore that if it's
terrible,
which I want to do. Or even if it's a good idea, I can just be like, nope, I just don't, not going to do that. So I have thought about that before. I don't have a lot of time. So
I just had an idea. We make a Google form that is available via Patreon or something. And viewers or Patreoneers can basically type out their own like limited character plot point. And then for a select number of Patreon one-shots or something we do on the channel, the DM has to pull only from the Patreon submitted plot points to build a story. I think it's a fun idea. I just brainstorming. I also would like to say most of my ideas aren't great. So
I would also love...
That's a raw Grant idea.
There. I like the general idea. We got to workshop it a little bit, but I like the foundation of it.
We could also do something like a TPD what if series where like
that's such a good idea.
Like, hear me out.
That's such a good idea.
What if actually
so much work though?
We did kill Zestari.
What if
Melora never died?
What if we did defeat Prazius back in the dungeons in episode 10?
Yeah. What if we were never separated?
Like, what if we didn't spend 3 months in the Fae at the beginning of the
mind forever?
What if we just immediately killed the Wisteria Vale. We just killed her off the bat.
Yeah.
What if we never summoned Grotz?
What if Terra Colomos defeated Prazius?
Honestly, I think if Terra Colomos defeated Prazius? Wait. Oh, yeah.
Also, I'm not going to ask how that happened. I will remain I'm just going to leave it up to plausible deniability.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
If we as a 3rd level party managed to kill Prazius.
Well, actually, we as a 5th level party managed to kill Prazius.
All right, match
what if
that
Melora killed Catherine
against an ancient dragon god?
Listen, man. Okay, I had to make him scary.
He was scary. I was scared. I wet myself more than once.
The villain that I pulled off the best in this series, in this campaign. And it does
we could have so clickbaited it. Scary boss makes DM party pee their pants, or scariest mini boss you've ever seen in a D&D campaign, and it's all of us going.
We're I'm
confused. What is this for, Grant?
This is just, we could have clickbaited the heck out of this.
I also would like to believe that Terra Colomos is not actually dead, because we buried a body that was human, and when a dragon that is shapeshifted dies, it returns to its dragon form. So
maybe not in this world, Aaron.
I know. I'm just saying. In my heart of hearts,
maybe he originally, maybe
Terra Colomos is retired on Fiji with Lada.
Maybe originally Terra Colomos wasn't a dragon, and he was granted his dragonhood by that previous ancient dragon to take up the mantle to make sure that the world goes the way it ought to. And so when he died, he actually wasn't originally a dragon, so he went back to a human form. Did you ever think about that, Aaron?
Terra Colomos was a human who had polymorphed himself into a dragon. So then when he died, he reverted back to his human form. And it was that everyone just thought, they were like, oh, clearly that's a dragon.
Also, I know chat said something about it. I'm sorry, chat. I can't get Kevin because I'm literally not wearing pants. So I can't get him.
He's gonna be on the floor. Yourself.
I am gridlocked in this position.
I am gridlocked, he says.
Just so you know.
Grant, you better hope that you don't have to go to the bathroom.
Way ahead of you.
He can just turn off his camera. That is a thing that you can do.
No, he just confirmed he is gridlocked. He cannot move or
I can slide under my desk like this. If need be.
Back to questions at hand. This is another thing that I brought up to Drew, right? So at this point in time, we know that it's not a normal squirrel. Ginger is not a normal squirrel. We know this, right? There's no way that Ginger is not a normal squirrel. She understands human speech and responds. That is not a normal squirrel.
That is not a normal squirrel.
If we were to cycle through the things that Ginger could be, you end up with a few possibilities. Some are more likely than others. One, it actually has been a ridiculously high-level druid this whole time. I doubt it. Press F to doubt.
I'm pressing
More
F.
likely possibility, it's a fae.
Press F for fae.
If it's a fae, is Ginger a snitch? Because that would explain a lot.
Well,
if Ginger has just been reporting on us to Jastari this whole time, that would explain so many things.
So
plus, there's more that supports this theory. If Melora was doing stuff with Zestari before all the weirdness happened, it would kind of make sense that Ginger would be all involved in this biz. So if Ginger,
my gosh, I can explain Melora stuff. Oh my god!
Are we going to right now? Chat, hold on, pause. Chat, we've been wondering about Ginger since early, and if DJ's about to say something about Ginger, you want to listen to this.
So Hannah did the most beautiful thing that she can ever do as a player, which is say, hey, DM, here is a set period of time in my history where I don't know what happened. I don't remember it. I don't know what's going on. You can just tell me what happens and let me know as you go. And I was like, great. Okay. And so
does that mean that you knew that she was an Amdata from the beginning, or is that because of Aaron's input?
Yes and no. I mean, from the beginning is speculative because if you mean like from session 0, no. If you mean from like session 5 when Aaron first mentioned Autumn Daughters and I was like, that's sick, we're gonna make that a thing, then yes. So it just kind of depends. But I knew that she was working with Zestari. So basically, what happened? So Melora remembered her childhood. And all that type of stuff. She remembered her family. She remembered growing up and all this type of stuff. And then there's a blank period in her life. Well, that's when she became an Autumn Daughter. So she went and she was endowed with Zestari. Or not endowed with Zestari, endowed with her Faeish powers. She was bound to Zestari, and she worked as an Autumn Daughter. And she actually rose up to the ranks and became a captain of Zestari's personal guard. And Zestari became almost like a mother figure with Melora, and they had a really like mother-daughter relationship. Wow. Eventually, Melora actually found out about Clovar before anybody else. So she like figured out like she walked in on the chrysalis. Thank you. I was like, what's the freaking caterpillars thing? She walked in on the chrysalis, was kind of confused as to what it was. Zestari eventually explained it, and that caused her to leave the order. Like she chose to leave. But when you leave the Feywild, there's a chance that you forget everything that happened there. Look it up in the handbook. And so she left the Feywild. She escaped Zestari. She was being hunted. She escaped Zestari. And but when she returned to the material plane, she forgot all about everything that happened in the Feywild. And so like she kind of got glimpses of memories before Hannah had to leave. And so we never really got to explore that. And it had enough to do with like endgame stuff that I was perfectly content to just leave that be for a while. But Ginger was basically exactly what you guys are claiming. So she was sent to technically Melora.
Wait, you're even revealing Ginger?
Yeah. If I remember correctly, I think Ginger technically Melora had her since she was a kid, if I remember correctly. Thinking about her backstory. But
Ginger was a spy since she was a kid?
Well, but after she went to the material plane, or not to the material plane, after she went to the Feywild,
Dog, that is an old squirrel.
Well, I don't think it's that squirrel. I don't think it's the same squirrel.
Oh no, she got goldfish.
Wait, what if yeah. Oh no.
They were like,
I think she might have.
The first Ginger went to the farm.
Yeah, I went to the farm. They fed the rabbits alfalfa. I'm trying to remember. Sorry, these are details from like 3 years ago. But basically, yeah, no. So Ginger has been a fae for the longest time, or something like that. And she didn't necessarily like report and like snitch or anything like that, but it was a way of keeping track of Melora. And it wasn't until you guys started to really interfere with Brasius, who was working directly with Zestari and Lady Morontar, if you guys remember her.
Yeah, I do.
She was Drax's girlfriend in the Fae.
Missed opportunity, let me tell you.
I
still,
is that
the ice lady
day, I think
that
one of my
Leshka?
favorite interactions is Tarak politely asking Lady Morontar to put him down.
Excuse me, could you please put me down? It is hard for me to fight from up here.
Lady Morontar
was
the Fae who was at the fight against the hag.
Against Melancina.
I remember now.
Yes. Yep. So part of what that is, so Melancina was working with Brasius and trying to get information about the rod. And so what Melancina was doing was she was sacrificing kids to Lady Morontar as payment for information on the location of parts of the rod, which she would then give to Brasius and all that type of stuff.
Wow.
Okay, but did she get any?
I mean,
what?
I guess not.
I will say yes.
Yes.
They did get information because literally Melora first met Brasius on the doorstep to Ruat. Yeah. So I'm going to say yes.
The way that Melora got Ruat was she was in her forest and saw Brasius and a troop of guards meandering through her forest and was like, what the freak is happening? They shouldn't be here. And so when they camped, she snuck into their camp, snuck into Parazius's tent while he was sleeping, stole his book that had all the information on it, almost stole his dagger, which would have like totally killed her. If you guys remember, you guys didn't pick that up because it's 100% cursed. And then
Wait, what
she
is
went the short sword that Parazius had, the one that when you picked it up, you
oh yeah,
your head.
Yeah.
She stole the book, and this is all in her one shot. So if you guys are curious, you can go back and watch all of this. But she stole the book. She went to the temple. She found the rod before Parazius, and then Cather helped her escape from Parazius because in Cather's one shot, how they meet is that
it's a divine vision or something.
Well, yeah. So Cather literally we pick up. He's like a month from leaving Moonkari, and he's beginning to make his way south, and he gets this in a dream. He gets this vision of Melora needing his help. And he just kind of like follows. I don't even remember I think he like followed like a star or something.
There was like a star or something, yeah.
To the forest where Melora was.
It's the baby.
Kind of.
So,
who out of us hasn't seen the one shots? I have not watched them.
I've seen some of them though.
Oh, okay. Drew, have you? Well, you were there for all of them, and so was DJ, of course. Okay, I have a more important question. This is all fine and dandy. How many squirrels are from the Fae, do we think, in this world? That's an important question to ask.
The birds work for the bourgeoisie, man.
Follow-up question. Is Manny from Over the Hedge from the Fae with his abilities?
Yes, absolutely.
Without a doubt, dude. He has the speed.
He had the
force,
zoomies. Bro. Yeah.
Like what?
He's got some kind of interdimensional blink. He got blink spell or something.
I would like to say, so I've been back to playing a lot of Magic the Gathering recently. Played it a lot when I was younger. There's a meme in Magic the Gathering that is just squirrels. Because it's a creature type. And there are some cards that are so good that are squirrels. Because if you have enough squirrels, they can kill anything.
So what you're saying...
There's a card that is literally Cthulhu. But if you have 13 squirrels, it will die.
So what you're saying is we should not underestimate Ginger still.
Never underestimate squirrels.
I'm on board. I still think Ginger could have the final blow either way. Like,
oh, that is true.
I think that Ginger
Lydia
probably
has
kills
a question. What happened to the orphan Sam?
Is he dead?
A little boy, orphan Sam. That said, oh no, what are we going to do?
What are we going to do? That's wrong.
Yeah, that one.
That's the wrong way. Okay. Sam.
Also, there's a lot of people named Sam in this.
Wait.
Yes, there's like 4.
He was named after his mother.
I think he went to the Horned Elves.
Theoretically.
If I remember correctly, I think Kimura took him with him.
Well, that's good.
But
that tracks because they were all kind of in the big pod in the sewers.
Yeah.
If
I remember correctly, and that's where you guys met Kimura. He was leading kind of a little resistance.
Right.
Yeah.
If it was in the sewers, it's more like the potty.
I think he went to La Stella, but I can't remember.
All right, so guys, we have to find Sam and La Stella and bring him back to Fate's Gambit. That way we can have.
What do you know?
That way we could have Sam. We could have Mary. We should
just group all of our Sams together. I think if we collect every Sam, we get an achievement.
Every Sam.
Well, see, every Sam
actually
collecting all the Sams is how you counter the Rod of 7 parts.
Oh my god!
Hey,
the Rod of 7 Sams.
The Rod
you better
of 7
watch
Sams,
what you're about to say, DJ.
Speaking of Sam, can we talk about Grant's little thing that he's got going on? His situation he's got going on here.
It's our thing.
Can we talk about how Grant and I are in a relationship finally?
Yes, sir.
We've all been waiting for it.
I'm so excited.
I need an air horn sound. I got this.
So the beautiful thing about this is that I had no clue that Grant was actually interested in it at all. Grant has been very
coy.
Question, Grant, are you actually
Reserved.
interested, or are you just playing along?
Do you
Are you gonna
remember
break
what
her heart?
happened?
What?
I mean,
what'd you
I'm
say,
not
Aaron?
planning on it. I'm not.
I said, is he going
don't
to
know.
break her
Listen,
heart?
Oh,
listen. This is a new thing. I don't know how much I want to say. Right? What I will give. I'll take the bait. I'll say some things. Right. First of all, it's back in the past when Edward was like in authority and Sam was like an adjacent employee. Right.
Yeah.
First of all, that's just a little weird. First
It's
of
a
all,
little weird. It's a little unprofessional.
Second of all, that's not the biggest reason, but that is a reason. Second of all, Edward and Tiala, he liked Tiala, but it just didn't work out. Edward had other things to do, right? He had, and she moved and he was sad and it didn't work out. That's not easy for the guy. He's just been working himself to the ground. How could this guy, the one that has to oversee Athala, make sure that that people are understanding and appreciating the orcs for their culture and what they can offer Akhlaran, and also worry about the existential crisis that is happening with the Fae? That's a lot for one guy to handle. To think of also handling a relationship amidst the chaos, that's just a lot for one guy. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, that's really mostly why. That's why he hasn't been interested. He hasn't
Grant,
allowed himself to feel that way.
When you were pushing for Melora and Edward to become a thing?
You're when you putting words.
You are putting words in my mouth.
To be fair, it was before you guys knew it.
Yeah, I know.
Sweet home.
They have just stop that. That never happened. That never happened. Okay. However, I think if we want to be more like that's a umbrella reason, but if you want to get to more of the core of why that it hasn't been an interest to Edward or me particularly, a big piece of how Edward is as a character is that he doesn't allow himself to enjoy things because he believes that is keeping him from his quote unquote job, and that is, at the end of the day, one of Edward's major flaws is that he has a hard time actually appreciating things. He doesn't allow himself to remove the pain of not having them or to make sure that he does his task. So there's pros and cons. But with romance, and one of the problems with Tiala was that Edward doesn't particularly know how to handle that, first of all. And second of all, he sees it as, because he enjoys it, and he was conditioned to do this from a young age, because he enjoys it, and because it isn't quote unquote productive to the overall goal or his purpose or what he would perceive as that, he sees it as something that's getting in the way or something that's not worth it, right? So he throws it out. And so I think with the turn of, now this is, I commend you for this, CJ, because I really didn't see it coming. But it makes complete sense, which I really like, because it doesn't make sense that Edward's off while Athala is running. I love that there's a change in power and that there's kind of this question of, okay, Edward was appointed as he's running this, but who in the world is going to take him place, and how do we now, what does he do if he's not appointed? You know, it's a great question. I flippin' loved how that happened. How, first of all, Sam was capable and was the one to get the position naturally. And second of all, that initially Edward was like, okay, what can I do? But in a way, him being able to trust somebody else to do it, and then also be in a position where he can be intimate with someone and not worry about it affecting his quote unquote purpose. I think that is a big step forward in Edward's life quality and experience. And as a last point, what Edward said in response when he was like, actually, I'm going to decline this position because the most powerful position is the partner of the one in power. Edward actually believes that is the thing too. And so in Edward's mind, it's like a win-win. It's like, I get to be with this person
while also getting to enjoy it.
Exactly. And I think secretly, secretly, he also I think hates his pace of life, secretly, but he thinks he has to do it. So it's a lot of that kind of stuff, right?
The beautiful thing that I've always loved about Edward, I have a few points.
Okay.
Actually, I'll go back a little bit. One of the things that I remember you telling me when we were talking about kind of how things went over the break, if you and Talanashta, not Talanashta, Tiala were
Yala.
still together, and all this type of stuff, was that you guys weren't together. And part of how Edward coped with not being able to deal with Tiala is he kind of became kind of a workaholic, and that he used work and this thing as a way to keep himself busy and not have to kind of work through some of the pain that he was in from a lot of different things, from the traumatic experiences that he had from adventuring, from losing Tiala, from his dad and his daddy issues, all that type of stuff. So it's been cool to kind of see you move out of that and open up with the group and with other people and stuff like that, and lose the opportunity or the crutch of work, which has forced you to grow a little bit, which has been super cool.
I think you're spot on. And from early on, like even from the beginning, right? Like some of the things you can see in Edward from the very, very beginning, how I made the character was he, as he was growing up, enjoyed music and instruments, but he, in his, what he was conditioned to think and believe was that that stuff was a waste of time and that he has to do his job. And you can still see that today in Edward, but he is beginning to through, and I would say what you were explaining, his like pain, his grief, like that's a big piece of Edward's character, is that he's been grieving and he is still grieving. And so I think going through that process, slowing down, and then also beginning to finally be able to appreciate things, you know, which is the whole Sam thing.
Yeah.
I think this is it's a fantastic opportunity to show that he, as in principle, is different, you know, than he was when he started. So, which I love that about Edward's play style too, how it's like he's kind of Edward, but then in very critical points in his story, you see as a window looking into his soul, like you see how he is slightly different now, you know, in these critical moments in his character. So yeah, I really like that. And I think what you did kind of allowed for that. So I commend you.
And something else that I want to bring up is that Edward has become a really good example of healthy masculinity and a man who's a work in progress, but is working towards being better. Where, yes, he still feels all of his emotions. He still grieves. He still has all that frustration, but he's able to express that in a way that doesn't harm other people. A lot of times, like guys in general, they like choose to either like they don't feel it or they bottle it up or they wait and then it explodes and it causes harm with whoever you're venting to, or they use it as a fuel for doing harmful things and all this type of stuff. And processing that emotions and being able to feel those things and be okay with feeling things. Like it's okay to cry. It's okay to have emotions. It's okay to feel grief and sadness and all this type of stuff. But you express that in a way where it doesn't harm other people, but it doesn't make you weak either.
Yeah, I think to drive what you're saying home, I guess he comes from a situation where his father was very, like a lot of toxic masculinity in a lot of ways. His father was, and so
yeah, absolutely.
I do like the premise, and I've told Aaron about this. Maybe I don't know. I've talked about it a bit off screen, but I really don't. Aaron actually helped teach me this, I'd say, in talking to him before this campaign and stuff, because Aaron is a great storyteller, by the way. But I think one of the things I like about this kind of like what you're describing is I like the idea of playing a character that just at the core is actually a very good person. Like that's one thing that Aaron said is that people are afraid to do like that their thing will be uninteresting, but the reason why there are tropes is because they're good, right? Not all the time, but in that case, like heroes and things, like I like the idea of Edward at the core always being, for the most part, true to his good core values, right?
Absolutely.
Even if he's naive and confused at times, like
now we are in an era in our storytelling where the anti-hero is the pinnacle. And the reason for that is because the anti-hero is really relatable. A lot of people can really see yourself in the anti-hero. They can see the struggles, they can see the frustration, and so they feel like they can relate to this character. But, and Aaron and I had talked about this a little bit before on Table Scraps, and I just talked with Drew about this. But the point of storytelling is to pass down lessons so that you don't have to go through the experience of doing what they were to learn the lesson. You tell stories to help teach people without them having to physically go through those experiences. That's why you can become wise at a younger age by listening to stories, because you have all those life experiences and you have the experiences of human history to learn from instead of having to go through those yourself and gain that wisdom. And so
that's why Mary is going to be a crazy monk of fire or something.
What?
So that being said,
Anyway,
what we need I think one of the things that we need a little bit more of in our modern media is examples of the what you're trying to achieve, the pinnacle. We need more people like I would argue that Tanjiro from Demon Slayer or Aragorn from The Lord of the Rings. Those are examples of people that are characters that are just truly good at their core.
Elastigirl, dude.
They do the right thing, and it sucks. It's not fun by any means, but we need examples of people who are what you should be striving towards. I don't think that there's definitely a place for having characters that are relatable and stuff like that. But the idea of this anti-hero, I'm going to abide by I have my own personal code that I follow. And even though it screws over the majority of the population, that's what I'm going to do for me. And I'm good because of that. Like, no, like you can live your life in a way that is honorable, courageous, and upright, that doesn't cause harm to all the people around you, while also still standing up for what's right and being prepared to fight when you need to and fight for your ideals and all this type of stuff. And
so here's what I'm hearing from you. Even though Edward can't fix society in Nico Muris, he can fix society in our world. And that's enough.
Sure, absolutely. No, I got you. It took me a second. I had to process it. But I got you.
I love more on the paper dungeon of us saying a thing and then Grant being like, I've got it, insert statement. And then no one speaks for like 5 seconds because we just have to hear it. But
I had to process it, but I got it. And I see what you're saying, and I respect it.
On the topic, I've talked a lot about it. Even if I'm a big fan of animation and cartoons and stuff. If you look at like storytelling, like media in the form of animation, it's really cool to see how it develops, because you start off with that trope of like He-Man, right? Where it's like He-Man is the paragon of good versus the paragon of evil. And there's never any question as to who you are rooting for. You're like, He-Man! And that's the end of it. Like you get excited when the good guy beats the bad guy.
Or MacGyver.
You're like, that's MacGyver. I want MacGyver to win. Why? Because it's MacGyver, and MacGyver's a good guy.
Yeah.
And you never question, like, even if you do question, there isn't really an answer as to why they are good or why they are evil. Like and it's not as though they don't have struggles or they don't stumble across a question. Another good example is Thundercats, Lionel from the Thundercats. Even the modern one.
Oh, you're bringing out the Thundercats fans.
Yeah. Dude, Thundercats was great.
Thundercats.
Wait, I'm thinking of something else. I'm thinking of the Cats thing where every cat had personalities and stuff. Anyways.
Are you talking about the musical Cats?
No.
Featuring James Corden?
Are you talking about like the books?
Cat book series.
Oh,
yeah.
the book series. No, I'm talking about
Warriors.
the show.
Oh, okay.
The show.
There you go.
Oh God, I lost the name.
Sorry,
Thundercats.
Lionel is another one of those characters where Lionel is always good. Now, Lionel is also a rash idiot. But there's never a question of whether or not he's going to do the right thing when it comes around to it. And you're excited to see him triumph, even through his failures. But as time has progressed, a lot more of the time you'll have stories where you have to put into question, I don't know if the person that I'm rooting for is going to do the right thing here. There's a chance that they do something like evil or messed up. And with villains, you'll see things where it's like, they're doing evil because something bad happened to them, or they have a reason or something like that. And that's good things. That's still good storytelling, having a reason as for why your characters do things, is good. But every once in a while, I want to sit down and watch a show and not have to go, should I feel bad for the bad guy?
Mhm.
And like sometimes I just want to see a bad guy and go, I'm excited to see them lose.
Yeah, well, I think that there needs, I think just a staple storyline that you can always rely upon is where the villain and the main protagonist are mirrors of each other, and they went through the same thing, and one fell into temptation and one didn't. One rose above it, and that's the epitome. That's why they're enemies, is because the hero feels bad knowing that that's what he could have been, but he chose not to be, and now he has to defeat this. That's just a classic trope that I think is not portrayed a lot anymore in media, because it was classic for a really long time, and we've gone into this point, like you said, Aaron, where like there's so much of this gray area for both the villain and the hero.
I do think it's coming back around. I think it's starting to get more in style.
Like I said, for one of the examples I gave is Conjuro, which is a brand new show. I mean, it's only a couple of years old. Oh, yeah. And so, but like you can also look at what are the biggest not reality TV shows, but what are some of the biggest shows of all time, like Breaking Bad, and like Deadpool is a good example of a very famous anti-hero
stuff like that.
You know, The Punisher, Batman. All those type of things where it's like these guys that are doing innately horrible things, but you want to like kind of root for them because they seem like the good guy, and it's just this gray area that I think we don't need to represent quite as much as we do. That's just my point.
I want to point out
be a balance for sure.
Definitely.
Because there is a place for those stories, without a doubt.
Yes, definitely, absolutely. I totally agree. That
I like Thanos.
Well, I mean, that's just an example of a really well written villain where you want to feel like you want to know that the villain truly believes that he's the good guy.
Yeah,
that's just how you
just
write a good villain.
I will also
actually
say,
evil. I like that
from a D&D perspective. There is I've seen threads, and I have actually talked to people that, like, when I bring up the topic, they like their response is that characters that are like that are very flat and one-dimensional and kind of boring to play. Let me tell you, it is really hard to play a character that is just a good guy.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
because like it's one of the reasons that we relate to those like gray area characters is that in real life those are really rare to come across. Mm-hmm. Like, and it is doubtful that you yourself are a person who always chooses the good thing.
Absolutely.
So to play that character, or like to play a lawful character like that is to the core lawful, that when they see their rogue go and pickpocket, they go, that is illegal. You cannot do that. Or or like the knight character that like refuses to stab someone in the back, even though it would be so much easier. Where they have to like, I will announce myself to my enemy and face them head on. That's not an easy character to play.
No. I think it's funny that we're talking about this because if you watch the new D&D movie, there's the paladin in it who is just like that. He doesn't get sarcasm. He doesn't do satire. He's to the point. He's like, this is right, this is wrong. You do this, you don't do that. I won't join you because you're a band of thieves, but what you're doing specifically is a good thing. So I'll help you with that specific thing, but not join your crew. And it's just so funny. And it's such a good character.
It's a fun character. And to play them it is difficult, but it can be really fun.
Yeah, like, so this is what I was going to point out.
Exhausting, but
Cather,
really fun.
I think Cather does embody that. But the question of Cather, I think, comes into his authority. Like not Cather's authority, but the authorities above Cather, right? Mm-hmm. We don't know what's going on there. But I think Cather, in principle, is in a lot of ways that thing where it's like, this is what I do. And I will not stray from it. Of course, things have kind of changed with the break and whatever. But now, he's cool with the gods, it seems, and all that. And so he's back. But I think Edward is good to the core, but has a lot to learn. Cather is very certain, I think, of a lot of things. At least that's how his origin is. Like, he just knows this is something he has to do, and he won't stray from it. And I think he also voices his opinion. Like, when there's a problem, he'll be like, I don't think this is good, And so I've seen Cather as more so that type of like he will stand up for what he thinks, more so than Edward, anyways. And so I like Cather for that reason. I feel like it's a little different there, but
yeah, absolutely.
And Drew, do you have anything to say about that? About your character that you play on every Monday night? Yeah. I'm curious.
Just to clarify real quick, by me complimenting Edward on his masculinity, that is not me excluding Cather in that genre.
I know.
Get shut down, Drew.
I'm throwing a line to Drew, baby.
I recognize it. Line him up, Drew. Get in there.
I got you.
You and your existence.
And this was the thing I was going to say. So it's genuine as well.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you're totally. I mean, you totally hit the nail on it. I mean, so which and it's gonna be so a little bit of tea to look forward. It's gonna be really hard for me to play my campaign 2 character for the start because he's very different from Cather, and Cather is like I've explained it to Aaron in this way. Basically, Cather holds all of my ideals with the personality that I wish I had, versus my campaign 2 character has vastly different ideals with the personality that I have. And so it's going to be very interesting to try and
Paragon of Righteousness, absolute scumbag. That's right. All I can assume.
But yeah, I mean, when I first made Cather, the whole point of him was very much fitting the trope of a paladin, being like, this is my virtue, I will stick by it because that is what I've sworn to. And I think one of the fun things with Cather has been he has had a surprising amount of growth and much more of a character arc than even I initially thought he would have. Still, like, because and so the interesting thing, right, like with Cather is like Cather at his core, kind of like what you were talking about with Edward. Cather at his core is a genuinely good person, and just bye DJ.
Yeah, I like how he's like, talk to someone, comes back, sits down,
immediately gets up.
Immediately leaves.
But at his core, like, Cather is a genuinely good person and is seeking to help other people around him and allow them to live long, prosperous lives. However, his vow to the gods, and so like Cather's vow to the gods of fate aren't necessarily because he believes fate is the most important thing to adhere to. The reason Cather adheres to fate is because fate is the vessel that has allowed Cather to pursue his ultimate virtue of doing good. And that's kind of part of the reason that he won't let it go, despite everyone else's doubts, is like, no, I personally have seen the good that fate can provide because of myself. And so I cannot just willingly choose to let go of this thing. Which I think is different than what some people expected.
Yeah. Well, my favorite thing about Cather, and it has also been one of the biggest nuisances, has been
all the way as far back as Tarak and Cather's first conversation with each other.
Start to finish. Everyone knows Cather is the He-Man. Cather is the one who is doing the good thing. Cather is going to make the choice that is the good one. Cather does good things. The gods know it. The demons and devils know it. Literally, children on the street are like, "Hey, there's the He-Man." The only one who doesn't realize that Cather is the He-Man is Cather. Where his where Edward's greatest foe in the whole campaign is a work-life balance. Cather's greatest foe in the whole campaign is Cather not realizing that he's the good guy.
Well,
like in
very well.
doubting
that's
whether or
very
not
true.
that's accurate.
well,
I think Cather does a good job of showing how how do I want to say this? The vice of self-doubt, where part of a good virtue to have, you don't want to be prideful, but you want to be confident. You want to be consistent and knowing of who you are. And doubt can cause the good man to make bad decisions because of that doubt, and because of the struggles that he has with if he's doing the right thing, and that can cause him to overthink it, or to have like options paralysis, blah blah blah. And so I think Cather does a really good job of showing how a lack of confidence in yourself and a lack of confidence in knowing who you are can make your life more difficult and the life of your friends more difficult. So that's kind of a cool thing.
And I think it's a story of the journey of finding that, because it's definitely not something that is a natural occurrence. Definitely. It's something that takes the struggle, and Cather has had a journey of faith and a journey of discovery, and challenge. And so I think at this point and forward, I think it is a story of a man who, or this person with this faith discovering that he can actually do it, or finding who he is and stuff. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Drew, but I mean, that seems to be a big part of it.
Well, yeah, and you're actually getting on something that I did want to make some note of. And I've talked to Aaron actually about this most recently on our previous table scraps. In my head, the final journey for Cather, so to speak, aside from obviously the overarching plot of the main campaign, but the final kind of character arc for Cather now at this point is, at the start of the campaign, he kind of had all this self-criticism because of his past as a drow, but he finally kind of found a new life as a moon elf, right? Found a new purpose with the gods of fate, all this stuff, and that leads in obviously into the whole campaign so far, and then of course there's kind of like this reevaluation after he falls, breaks his oath, realizes, okay, what is it that I actually want to do? What do I actually believe in? Reaffirms his belief in the gods of fate and kind of his responsibilities with that, and kind of in my mind, like the final journey with Cather is him actually accepting himself as a drow again. And this actually, I kind of began to really get this idea after the whole idea that Cather no longer has his mask. Because it was kind of a crutch for him to hide behind, and not really stand firm and be confident in his decisions and who he is and the authority that he has. And expanding on that, like expanding on that, like the final then arc for Cather would be not hiding behind the fact that he is now a moon elf, but now accepting the fact, no, truly I am a drow and I can be good, still being a drow. And there are other drows like Talnasha that can truly be good and can help uplift the rest of the drow. And I think that's kind of the final arc for Cather and part of the reason that I think he's also very invested in Talnasha himself is Talnasha represents to him the little bead of light that also resides in him of being something that can still be good.
One of the things that I love about that is how important it is to like accept your own past and like stop running from it, stop trying to hide from it, stop trying to be ashamed or like stop being ashamed of it. Everybody always is trying to do the right thing. Very rarely do people actively and consciously choose to do the wrong thing. Right. Everybody always can justify what they do in their head, even when they know that it's wrong, and learning to say, you know what, I made the best decision that I could at that time, and now I am wiser, stronger, better, and I know better, so now I can make a better decision is important. And because too many people today live with regret in their past and allow that to be an anchor holding them down from succeeding in the future or from going after the things in the future. And I think Cather has shown that as, my past has held me back, but now I have, or once you go through this transformation, it'll be, I have reconciled with my past. I have wrestled with it. I have processed it. And now I will no longer allow it to be something that, sorry, Grant crawling out from under his desk was funny. But I will no longer allow my past to be something that holds me back or that is something that I am ashamed of, but it's something that I will use as a tool to keep going and becoming the best version of myself that I can be.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool thing that you're going to do. I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
I'm also a big fan of the partially probably intentional, but also probably a little unintentional symbolism of the mask in the actual like design of it, with the one half is like growing green like roses and thorns, then the other half is dead. Where and there was a clear split between the two. But now with the removal of the mask, there is no longer a divide where the who you were or the part of you that is dead is the same part of you that is also alive. Like I really like that symbolism. Whether or not it was intentional, it's certainly symbolism that can be easily drawn.
100%. I mean, like, the idea of a new life, has always been a part of my backstory with Cather. It's actually like the main thing that got me first excited to play Cather was when I came up with this idea of like, oh, what if he used to be like a drow and now he's a moon elf? Like, that sounds really interesting. I want to explore that kind of story. And so like that has always been kind of, that idea of a cycle of death and rebirth, has always been, part of there. And yeah, the idea that, part of the mask, because part of the mask 100% represented like Cather's death, and with the other half being representing his new birth.
Well, yeah, and from the beginning of the mask, the whole point of it is exactly what you said. Like, you can hide behind being the champion. Like, it was a way of separating Cather from being the champion of fate. And so that's something that I really much, how do I explain this? When you retook your oath, that was something that I very much purposely made sure to not include. Was, okay, if you're going to redo this oath, if you're going to redo this, you don't get to hide anymore. You are the champion of fate. Right. Cather is the champion of fate, not the other way around. It's not a separate entity. It's who you are. It's a part of your identity. And if you're going to do this, you have to be willing to accept that is who you are and not hide behind something.
Right.
Yeah, the mask stood in as something similar to like an executioner's hood, or like when they perform like an execution where you have like 12 people, but only like 3 of the guns are loaded, and they don't tell you which guns they are. Yeah. So it's like, it could have, you can decide that it was not me who pulled the trigger. But now that that's out of there, there's only one of you, and you know that the gun's loaded. This is completely off track, but it is a question that I was probably going to ask in session anyway, and now I won't have to. In terms of timeline, when did the War of the Elves happen?
Which one?
The one where like the creation of the orcs occurred. Like between the drow and elves.
That was a long time ago.
Like post-trial, pre-trial, mid-trial?
Yeah, so post-trial, but it was early post-trial. It was like within 500 years of the trial, which would have been like 4 millennia ago.
Okay, so next question. Does Clovar even know about the orcs?
I mean, he would have been informed, but he never would have seen one.
Because I would so love just a little side story. I may even DM it for like a Patreon thing of like Clovar learns that the orcs are keeping track of Arak Varas, and he's like, I'm gonna go take this nonsense. Oh. And then like a squad rolls up, and the orcs are like, excuse me?
That'd be awesome.
Steamroll. Like, he's just like, oh, it's just some mutated drow. Like, how bad could it be? And then he's like, whoa,
What the
What?
frick? You guys think I'm evil? You did this to someone and you think I'm bad?
You know,
I did, and they worked with these people.
Aaron and I did talk about how one of our favorite like possibilities that could technically happen in game, right? Like the party like secures like pieces of rod, make sure that like members of the sacrifices are kept safe, and then we're like, all right guys, what next? It's like, well, maybe I think it's time we gotta assemble an army, right? Like we gotta like bring some people together, right? It's like, and like Catherine's like, guys, I think we need to go talk to the drow, and here's how we convince them. We just put the orcs on one side of the battlefield and the drow on the other, and the anathema is just in between in the way. And so they'll just
Perfect storm.
In their attempt to go kill each other, they'll also kill the anathema.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, I love the idea. Like for Clovar, going up against the orcs is the same as like a knight going up against the first person to ever use a gun. Where they're like, stand aside, knave, I'll take care of this. And they pull out their sword, and someone just pulls out like a musket and just shoots him in the chest. And they're like, oh, what is this witchcraft? Like, oh God, what, how did that happen? You mean to tell me they can do that? That doesn't make any sense. Like, I would so love it. I also like the idea that Clovar like
catapult out of orcs. It's just
like,
what kind of nonsense is that?
They're launching themselves. Like, I also kind of like the idea of Clovar not understanding the benefits of the weave. Like, this is my own headcanon. But I like the idea that the weave, although it is less powerful than like raw mana, is probably more precise and controllable.
Absolutely. Raw mana is a lot more equivalent to like wild magic sorcery than like the weave is designed to help wizards versus the raw mana, which is very much like a sorcerer type of thing. And they both have their benefits. And it just kind of depends on what you're looking for. Because I mean, that was one of the reasons why the Age of Pandemonium was so destructive and so terrible, is because people were using this raw mana as weapons of war. And I mean, that's part of the reason why you have, so in this world, before the trial, part of what happened during the trial was all of the outer planes were originally a part of the material plane, and they were separated out from the material plane. And so part of the reason why all the outer planes are super chaotic and super crazy and all this type of stuff is because of the results of raw mana just on steroids being blasted into the earth and destroying everything. So that's why you have Pandemonium, and that's why you have all these other outer planes and stuff like that, and they're all these crazy, hyper-specific, super destructive places and stuff like that, or super beautiful places, is because that's the result of just like raw magic just going to town without really any control, and that's why it's not allowed anymore.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of thinking recently of like, what are things that Clovar probably doesn't know or doesn't understand the worth of, that are like either A, just cool, B, thematic, C, both of the above, or D, convenient and accessible. Like in that same concept of like, it, like if you were to bring a whole like medieval army and just like 30 people with pistols, like that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for our 30 pistols.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where it's just like, wait, you mean to tell me that they invented things that fire little things of metal that can puncture armor? When did that happen? No one.
When did that happen? This. Why would you do that?
That ruins all my plans.
Now, hold on.
Wait a second.
Yeah. No,
I'm looking. I'm also looking for other things that I know about that are really strong and good, that, or even evil, that are just conveniently able to be set in a targeted direction. I haven't come up with a whole lot of those.
Yeah,
but I also wanted to bring up when it comes to the six truths. So I had a little bit of background information because I was like with you and Ryan when you were coming up with this world at different points. So I knew, I didn't know about the six truths themselves, but I knew about prisons that held something. And so this is more of Aaron's headcanon. One of the first stories that Tarak told was one of the like 3 like main stories told at Jormungand, that told of one of their like 3 starting deities in their religion going to somewhere that one of the other 2 deities had been imprisoned. And specifically, I had written that story with the idea in my headcanon that the place where she was imprisoned was the same place that the truth was almost broken out of. So it was like a recycled prison that someone had used to trap her.
Absolutely. That definitely could be the case.
So theoretically, we could go to Jormungandr, because there is a full shield that is a piece of the floor of that prison ripped off of the ground, and use it to backtrack to where that prison is for a reason that I don't know yet.
Yeah. I don't know how that would benefit you, because the truth that's there is no longer there. They had the prison transfer, and that's where Adrasil's dad died and all that type of stuff. But that prison, I love the idea of that prison then being recycled, and what was her name? Renaya. Then being imprisoned there. Because it's designed to hold probably the most destructive and powerful being in the universe. So it's going to be able to hold a god.
So hear me out. We don't need to kill Clovar. We just need to get him into jail.
I like it. How in the world?
It's a possibility. I just like to keep my options open.
Now, we can wait to change gears if people have more things to say, but I'm wondering if we should move on to what we are going to be doing. Future stuff. If we want to mention any future stuff. I don't really have anything in mind
or anything.
Anything for the year. If we want to mention C2 or like anything at all, I'm just throwing it out there.
Before we,
in case people don't know, Aaron's DMing campaign 2.
But wait, it sounds like Drew has something.
DJ, I would love for you to blow Aaron and Grant's minds, along with the rest of the chat, with some of the talk around our boy Kiyomura.
He dies.
About how your original plans for him actually betraying us.
Oh. Yeah, so when the campaign first started, I was specifically looking for a character to introduce for you guys to fall in love with and then eventually betray you guys and leave you all heartbroken. Fun. And originally that was going to be Kiyomura.
No way. So, there's a prophecy of him like killing everybody with a hammer.
And now it's Ginger.
And so, yes, Kiyomura was originally going to betray you guys, and then there was going to be a whole redemption arc. He was going to be like my Zuko character, where he betrays you and it has this whole redemption thing. And at the very end of the campaign, you guys like bring him back as something. It didn't work out that way. Well, I shouldn't say that. Up until literally like the last session, that was still the plan eventually, was that he was going to side with Wisteria Vale and keep going. And then you guys would eventually have to face him, probably not kill him because you guys love him. And so you imprison him and then talk to him and all this type of stuff. But then you guys were like, we call Kiyomura. We got to talk to him before he gets to Wisteria Vale. You did all this stuff. And it just didn't make really any sense. For him to do that. It would have been really forced, I think. And it wouldn't have aligned with him quite as much. But it is really interesting. Kiyomura is a really interesting character who I think I know Drew wants to talk with him in the next session. 100%. And I think that will be a conversation that kind of really helps to show off Kiyomura's mental state and how
I look forward to that.
Yeah, well, I mentioned it the other day when Lydia did a insight check on him, talking about how Kiyomura, at every major interval of his life, has failed. And he has always felt like a failure, and he has always been striving to figure out a way where he can make up for his past wrongs and stuff like that.
Like Abin's gonna have to talk to Kiyomura.
Like all this type of stuff. Because he was originally supposed to be a member of his father's honored guard, and then he lost his dad, and that was like the first thing. That was his first major failure. And then after that, even though he was able to take the oath of his people, he was banished because of his failure, and so he had to do it in an unceremonious way, in a way that doesn't reflect his culture, and had to do it outside of his home. And so he failed on that front. He then failed in keeping Melora alive and keeping one of his oath keepers alive. And then Cather died and all this type of stuff. And so he then spent the next 3 years devoting his entire life to trying to redeem himself from this by bringing back Melora. And what that did is it created the perfect victim for a master manipulator, which is Wisteria Vale. She saw everything that he was trying to do. She saw exactly who he was trying to be. And she spent the next 3 years grooming him. And she genuinely loves him. But she also was specifically looking for someone that she could create into basically a loyal attack dog, where she could create someone who is so loyal to her because she's the only person that's ever believed in him, that ever could see him as not being a failure, that could see his potential, and that gave him
at least in his eyes, yeah.
Yeah, in his eyes,
that's how he sees.
She so over the last 3 years, she's like slowly been giving him more responsibility, slowly been letting him have his own say in how things get done, like letting him have some authority in his life and some initiative in how things get done, and some autonomy. And so what has happened is she created the perfect situation to completely manipulate this person into whoever they wanted them to be, and for that person to be 100% loyal to them. Absolutely. And you guys basically rescued him out of that situation, because if he had made it back to Wisteria Vale, he 100% would have been loyal to her. But you guys were able to pull him out, explain what was going on, and prevent him from being into this horrible, terrible situation that would have completely ruined the rest of his life. And he would have spent the rest of his life regretting the choices that he made. So you guys basically saved him from a villain arc, which is awesome.
You know who else I think could have a villain arc following this thread? Takaram. Remember how his people never... Yeah, he's great, but he was like, oh, well, I guess my people never got resurrected.
His whole thing is that he's trying to bring back his lost people.
Yeah, and that's kind of what was
another thing that I find so funny, because we can just do that. Like, we have this, we literally have the spell that's like, hey, if you can create a simulacrum-esque body for the soul of your wife, and he probably has something that was very important to her, because he seems like that type of guy. Literally, we could just resurrect her.
Done. Maybe we can do that later. Add that to the list.
Yeah.
That's post-campaign.
They could follow the next generation. They could
just kidding.
All right,
freaking
down. Although,
Abraham.
Only unfortunate thing is, the person who has met Takaram is no longer, like, Abinthy hasn't met Takaram, and he's the one with.
I might have met Takaram at some point.
Oh yeah, it's possible. Wait, maybe it's Abinthy's fault.
It could be. I feel like at some point in time, I riffed on the idea that I totally know who Takaram is as I don't know if that happened in campaign, but if it didn't happen in campaign, I think I made a joke of it in table scraps one time, where I was like, I mean, to be fair, they're both traveling like magic users, like that are searching for a way to resurrect someone. So they're probably been on the same Reddit boards. Like, let's be honest.
They've been on the same Quora, or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Quora,
they've been answering each other's questions. Like it'll be like
in the same forum.
How would I go about resurrecting my wife that is a member of a long lost race that I'm also a part of? And then Apathy pulls up his phone and he's like, oh man, that's a question. I would first start looking around the so-and-so isles. There's a little uninhabited island there that could be very helpful. Like, I was there one time, so-and-so, and then he posed his own question. And it's like, and Takaram's like, oh my goodness, I might be able to provide some input. Have you checked around this place? Like, they've been inadvertently best friends for years. That is my headcanon.
Absolutely.
The wizard mental forums.
Well, and you know that Poyo and Thimble.
Poyo and Thimble. Poyo really
friends.
thinks that Thimble is a sentient creature.
Oh yeah, Toyo 100% thinks that he's real. It's his best friend.
Yeah. We met
That's
at the
kinda
dog
messed
park,
up.
actually. I was just walking around, and I happened to be near the dog
I like
park.
it.
The Karen went there purposefully.
Yeah.
I had a question for you, DJ. I did. Okay. Oh, wait, no. This is what it was. I got a request in chat to give a synopsis of Campaign 2, Law and Order SVU Season 3.
Okay.
Wait, are you serious?
I could be.
Wait, say it again. You said it kind of fast.
Law and Order SVU Season 3.
That's what I thought you said.
What if there wasn't a Season 3?
How would you know Law and Order Season 3? You haven't watched the show, have you?
I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix.
That doesn't answer my question. But okay, I'll do some digging. Wait, can I read?
What does this mean?
Law and Order is the meme where it's like there's a group that investigates special crimes, and this is their story. And then the screen pops up, Law and Order, and boom, boom. And that's how you know. And that's anytime that it changes scenes, it goes boom, boom. That's Campaign 2, Law and Order SVU Season 3.
Interesting.
Oh my!
I'm so excited for Campaign 2. I'm really excited for my character.
I do have.
I'm stoked on it.
I do have pretty much. I have. So I work very similar to you, DJ, in a lot of ways when it comes to like the crafting of stories starting from the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I like to work at it from both ends at the same time. So I know where you guys are starting and I know where you guys are ending. And then I'll like work like, okay, from where you start, where would be a cool place to go? I'm not coming up with any ideas. All right, how did I get to here? And then so I kind of work from both ways at the same time. Yeah. Until eventually I can make them meet somehow in the middle.
That's right. But yeah, and that's kind of what you have to do. You have to be flexible enough in the middle. Oh yeah. To make it work, because that's just the nature of the medium.
Yeah, no one knows what you freaks are gonna do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's not 100% like writing a book or a movie where you're just like completely in charge of the characters and the plot and all that.
Drew had actually asked me this past table scraps if I could give any info about things that I might change about Campaign 2 or things that I would like to put in, whether it be in terms of story, in terms of production or anything. And so I'll just go through the list there. First off, I want to get music operated by the DM. So I can just press a button and then the music that plays for the scene that I want it to play.
Easy.
It's a lot easier to keep track of. I don't have one of my players be like, all right, I go first in combat. Hold on, guys. I got to figure out the song. Not against you. It's tough.
See, Aaron, that's my secret. That's why I always choose to go last.
That's why I have a bad initiative. So that's one of the things. I want to increase interactivity between the chat and the stream itself. So you will be able to, hopefully, assuming that I can figure it out and get things set up, be able to donate channel points and bits and like gifted subs and stuff like that to give the players a resource to use. I have a couple of ideas as to what that resource might be, but something will be in place there. And then for the players, there will be something akin to piety, because I think it's rad and you can't tell me not to.
No, I'm excited for it. Especially as a cleric monk who also gets piety. That's pretty rad.
Whoa, spoilers.
What? Whoa, DJ character reveal.
Cut the show. Cut the show. Cut it.
Hit the button. Hit the button.
I mean, I have to say something. His character, he can say whatever he wants. So
I have to say something.
Yeah.
Right.
What?
All that stuff sounds cool, but I have to point out, I'm looking at the season 3 episode descriptions, and boy, oh boy, is it just dark and insane. And I'm so concerned. It's Ice-T
is in it.
Ice-T.
Yeah. And he acts like he has no idea what's happening in every episode.
All right.
Every episode happens and they're like,
what is the clip from that?
They're like, yo.
Oh, it's a John Mulaney clip.
Yeah, it's great, and he's John Mulaney did a bit about it.
Yeah,
he's like you're watching the show, and every episode, it's like this woman was murdered, and Ice-T is like, man, I don't understand how they do something like that. And then the next episode, they're like, this woman was murdered, and he's like, man, how does someone go around doing something like that? It's every episode.
And you're like, you would just be like, bro, aren't you kind of used to the idea that there's murderers? And Ice-T is just a lawful good person.
Ice-T is an exposition person.
And he also is like chill with Cane's.
Yes. Shout
Cane's
out to Cane's.
Chicken.
We would love a sponsorship.
They have tea. They have iced tea. He did a commercial for them. They're like, hey, it's iced tea. And he's like, yeah, and he's holding iced tea.
That's fun.
Anyways, so that's concerning. But yeah, I think we'll have a lot of really neat, fun, goofy things to chill with chat that we do during the episodes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And to clarify, it may not be a one-to-one with Law and Order. I can tell you right now that the players are my special victims. So, because you're all very special to me, and you will also be victims.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Nice.
I'm gonna be pulling out all of my puns as
legitimately
reconnaissance.
I hope that in 3 years' time, we can return to this exact clip, and you can just say, "I hate you." Because I was so accurate.
That would be funny. That'd be fun. Nice.
Anyway, that's all I got.
That's all I got.
Fair statement here. We've been going for a strong 2 hours.
Mm-hmm. We have
and for a Table Scraps episode. That's about as much as I could do.
Yeah, my tank is empty. I just went to the bathroom.
Do we have anything more that we want to talk about?
I don't think so.
Or can we end it and get Grant some pants?
I have
Hashtag
pants.
Get Grant some
I'm
pants.
just choosing not to wear them.
If you want Grant to have pants, go over to our
subscribe
Patreon.
Now.
About for a little tease
small
for everybody
donation.
else's characters.
In the arms of
okay.
Right.
I like this.
Here, do you want to tease your own characters?
We should be able to tease our own characters.
Yeah, tease our own characters.
Okay, but it has to be very cryptic. All right, here's what I'm gonna do. Let me think for a moment. I'll say hairy zombie.
Okay.
That's the tease that you're giving for your character.
It's really not conclusive. It's real. Honestly, I think it's
like
kind of impossible to know what I'm doing.
That's like not accurate at all, Grant.
That's not really. No, it's not, is it? No.
That's like,
it gives a really inaccurate understanding of what I might be playing.
Okay,
that's like,
so I also want you to know.
Wait, that's enough of a tease. It's not that.
That's like that's almost like a purposeful like misdirect.
When you three are done with your tease, I'm also going to tease your characters. But like, I
mean, I kind of already gave a tease for my character. He's gonna have a personality more similar to myself, and
he's just a dick.
And well, see, here's the thing. In the conversation about
don't give away too much, Drew. Don't give him a
he's not a complete opposite of Cather. Meaning he's not going to be chaotic evil, like somebody guessed earlier.
Wait, nice. I have one for my character. Roar!
Nice.
I know what it means.
My little tease is the good adoptive dad.
That is a good description.
I know, right? I was thinking about it. I was like, let's see, what's a good description? He's like the dad that adopted the kid, and he's like just trying his best. He might not always be perfect, but he's trying his best to be a good dad.
He's what's the guy from what's the name of the dude from Between the Rows? That was Grant's character's dad, adopted dad.
Oh shoot!
What?
What are you
talking about? Grant was his adopted dad?
Oh, not me.
No.
You're talking about DJ's character.
The one who
Grant
I cosplayed
character.
Wait, my adopted
in the last season,
dad?
Yes.
The last season, he was the one who ran the skate shop.
NBC. Devin.
Devin.
Devin, homie.
Yes.
How did I
DJ's
do
playing a
that?
That's a
different
good
version
character.
of Devin.
Yeah.
All right. Wait. Let me give it another shot.
Are you sure? I've got you if you don't have it.
Let me give it another shot. Okay.
Another shot.
Another one.
He is like
So it's a guy.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa! So far,
I see
that's
that
the
one
most of teas you've actually given.
He is someone who you could see eating some beans around a fire.
So literally anyone who likes beans. Good to know.
There you
All right.
go.
All right.
I want
If I were
a
to
clip of my teases back to back, so people know exactly what I'm doing.
Brant's character tease C.S. Lewis. DJ's character's tease Murim, spelled M-U-R-I-M.
I'm looking it up right
it's
now.
a tease. I can't tell you. Even though you know the character.
I know. That's why I'm confused.
And
as to who
then
this is.
Drew's character tease. Oh, I had it in my mind. Tezzeret.
Yeah, I accept this.
Are you guys talking about
accept this.
Bionicles right now?
No, not at all.
Oh, that's magic.
Guys, you can't go telling them.
can't
That's
say
the point of the tease. is they
Do
have to
your
find it
own
themselves.
stuff. Do your own stuff.
What is Murim? Wait, how do you spell it?
M-U-R-I-M.
All right, guys.
couldn't find
Thank you
it,
for joining
yeah.
us for Table Scraps. Before somebody spoils something, I'm gonna
Yeah, that's
get
right, yeah.
us out of here.
Roll us
Thank
out of
you
here, Drew.
So
Roll us
much
out of
for
here.
watching, everyone. I hope you guys have had a grand old time tonight. Check us out next week. Main campaign, back at it again. Good luck and Godspeed. We'll see you next time, Dungeoneers.
Wait, I have something to say.
You got him. No, let him die.
I really do. I've been listening to Fonk this whole time.
Get us out of here, Drew. End it.